Namaskar, I am Dr. R.P. Somani, Associate Professor in Mathematics. Today's lecture topic is Continuous Linear Transformation, and this is according to the syllabus of MSc Mathematics 4th semester and in the paper Functional Analysis for C 6th paper. So we study today that how a linear transformation is continuous, bounded, and its interrelation and the properties and examples that when the linear transformation satisfies for continuity and bounded. So first we define definition of a continuous linear transformation is this like this one, let n and n dash be normed linear spaces with the same scalars, and let T be a linear transformation from n to n dash. Let T is said to be continuous if as xn tends to x in n implies Txn tends to Tx in n dash. So we are having the sequence xn in the norm linear space n and Txn in the norm linear space n dash. If this property that as sequence xn tends to x in n, then Txn tends to Tx in n dash, then we say that this linear transformation is continuous. So the second definition is bounded linear transformation. Let n and n dash be normed linear spaces with the same scalars, and let T be a linear transformation from n to n dash. Then T is said to be continuous if there exists a real number k greater and equal to 0 such that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k norm x for every x belonging to n. So if we are able to find such k for which that norm Tx is less and equal to k into norm x, then such type of transformation we say that bounded linear transformation. So next we see the theorems interrelating the continuity and boundedness of a linear transformation. So this is the theorem 1. This tells us that let n and n dash be two normed linear spaces and T be a linear transformation from n to n dash, then the following conditions are equivalent to one another. Here we are having the four conditions. So first is T is continuous. The second one, T is continuous at the origin in the sense that xn tends to 0 implies Txn tends to 0. Third condition is T is bounded, that is there exists a real number k greater than 0 such that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k into norm x for every x belongs to n. And the last fourth condition is that if the closed sphere S equal to x such that norm x is less and equal to 1. So this is the closed unit sphere in n. Then its image Ts is bounded in n. So in this theorem we are having the four conditions and we will prove that all these four conditions are equivalent. So first we prove first implies second and second implies first. So first let T be a continuous and suppose xn is any sequence in n such that xn tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. Then by the continuity of T we have as xn tends to 0, therefore Txn tends to T0 and T0 is equal to 0, that is T is continuous at the origin. So in this way we here we started from the first condition that T is continuous and obtained the second condition that T is continuous at the origin. Now we prove its reverse. So for the reverse part, on the other hand, let T be a continuous at the origin and we will show that this is continuous at arbitrary point. And for this, we let a sequence xn be any sequence in n such that xn tends to x belongs to n, then xn minus x tends to 0. Here the sequence xn tends to x. So we take this x in the LHS left hand side. Then we obtain the sequence xn minus x tends to 0, and this implies t xn minus x tends to 0 as t is continuous at the origin. Then by the linearity of the t, we obtained this as txn minus tx tends to 0, and this implies txn tends to tx. We transfer this tx to the right of this arrow, and in this way we obtained that t is a continuous map. So next we consider that second implies third. That is, if the t is continuous at origin, then we have to prove that this is bounded, and if this is bounded, then we have to prove that this is continuous at origin. So let first t be a continuous at the origin, and suppose if possible t be not bounded. That is, there exists no real number k such that norm of the tx is less than equal to k into norm x for every x belongs to n. So we are supposing here contradiction, yeah, opposite part, that suppose if possible t is not bounded. Then for each positive integer n, we can find a vector xn such that norm of the t xn is greater than equal to n into norm xn. So now we transfer this n xn to the right side. Then we obtain 1 by n norm xn into t xn is greater than 1, or we take this scalar 1 by n norm xn inside. Then we obtain this as norm 1 by n xn into t xn is greater than 1, or we take this as inside to t because t is linear and this is the scalar. So we obtained here that norm of the t xn upon n into norm xn is greater than equal to 1. So now we set here set y, suppose yn equal to xn upon n norm xn, then the norm of the yn is equal to norm xn upon n into norm of the xn equal to 1 by n tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. And so we obtained here the sequence yn such that yn tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. But tyn does not tends to 0 since tyn is greater than 1. So here this is the from this condition that t of the yn, this is the yn, and this is norm tyn is greater than. So in this way we obtained a sequence yn that yn tending to 0 but tyn does not tends to 0 because tyn greater than. So we obtained that this is the contradiction. So our assumption is not true. Hence, which is a contradiction to our assumption. So that t must be bounded. For the converse part, on the other hand, let t be bounded. That is, there exists a real number k greater than 0 such that norm of the tx is less than equal to k into norm x. Then we have to show that t is continuous at the origin, and for this we consider the sequence. Let xn be a sequence in n such that xn tends to 0. Then norm of the xn tends to norm of the 0, and the value of norm 0 is 0. Therefore, from this using the equation 1, we obtain norm txn is less than equal to k norm xn. So it follows that as norm of the xn tends to 0, therefore norm of the txn tends to 0 from these two equations 2 and 3, which implies that txn tends to 0, and in this way we have shown that as xn tends to 0 implies t of the xn tends to 0. That is, t is continuous at the region. So in this way, we have proved that second and third conditions are equivalent. Sorry, third, and now we consider the condition equivalence of the conditions third and fourth. So first, let T be a bounded, that is, there exists a k real number such that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k norm x for every x belongs to n, and let x be any point of the closed unit sphere S. Here S is the subset of the n closed unit sphere, so that norm of the x is less and equal to 1. Then we obtain that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k. Here is this norm x is less and equal to 1. There this norm of the Tx has become norm less and equal to k for all x belongs to S, and it follows that Ts is bounded set in n days. So in this way we obtain that this set Ts is bounded set in n days. On the other hand, let Ts be the bounded, that is, norm of the Tx is less and equal to k for all x belongs to S. Then no, if x equal to 0, then Tx equal to 0, and so for the x equal to 0, it is clearly that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k norm x. And if x not equal to 0, then we consider the vector x upon norm x. Then this x upon norm x belongs to S, because norm of the x upon norm x equal to 1. Therefore, this belongs to S. And now using the condition 4, we obtained that norm of the t x upon norm x is less and equal to k implies, so here t is the linear. Now we take here this norm outside from this t, then we obtain 1 by norm x, t x norm is less and equal to k. Now we take this quantity from this norm outside, so we obtain 1 by norm x. Because this is real positive quantity, so here we have taken this out without any modulus, and then transferring the norm x to other side this, we obtain that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k norm x for all x belonging to n. So in this way we have such k real number that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k. So that is T is the bounded and the proof is complete. So in this way we have proved the equivalence of these four conditions. So seeing the property of this theorem, that according to above theorem, T is bounded if and only if it is continuous. So there these two words are adjective for this linear transformation, that and these can be used interchangeably. So next we consider the second theorem. Let n and n dash be norm linear spaces and T be a linear transformation from n to n dash. Then this theorem tells us that T inverse exists and is continuous on its domain if and only if there exists m greater than 0 such that norm m into norm x is less and equal to norm Tx. Here this is the theorem that T inverse exists and is continuous on its domain if and only if there exists a real number m greater than 0 such that m into norm x less and equal to norm Tx. So the proof is this way. Firstly, let T inverse exist and is continuous. Then we will obtain this, try to obtain this condition, that because here T inverse exists, so for any each y belongs to n dash, we can find a pre-image of the y. X belongs to n such that Tx equal to y or T inverse y equal to x. So here the relation between x and y, this is that Tx equal to y and T inverse y equal to x as T inverse exists. And second condition that T inverse is continuous. So from previous theorem, this is bounded. So there exists k greater than 0 such that norm of the T inverse y is less than equal to k norm y. So then we put these values of the interchange the role of x and y in the here when you put the value of t inverse y equal to x and y equal to tx. So we obtain using the equation 1, we obtain this as norm x less than equal to k norm tx, and this implies 1 by k norm x is less than equal to norm tx. So now we put 1 by k equal to m which is greater than 0. So in this way we obtain the required condition that m into norm x is less than equal to norm tx. So in this way we obtain the required condition. For the converse part, we have to start with this condition that there exists a real number m greater than 0 such that m into norm of the x is less than equal to norm of the tx for all x belongs to n. Then we have to prove that T inverse exists and is continuous. So for the existence of T inverse, we say that T inverse exists. As we know that T inverse exists if and only if this is 1 1. So let x1 x2 belongs to n and tx1 equal to tx2. Then this implies tx1 minus tx2 equal to 0, and this implies tx1 minus x2 equal to 0. Therefore this implies tx1 minus x2 equal to 0 by using this condition 3. Here the norm is this t x1 minus x2 equal to 0. Therefore here this norm x1 minus x2 0, and we obtain here using this equation 3 x1 equal to x2. So this is that is t is 1 1 and therefore t inverse exists, and hence for each y belongs to n dash there exists x belongs to n such that tx equal to y, and this implies t inverse y equal to x, and hence from equation 3 we get m norm t inverse y is less than equal to norm y, and this implies t inverse y is less than equal to 1 by m norm. So in this way t inverse is bounded, that is t inverse is continuous. So we obtain that if this condition hold, then t inverse is continuous. Now we consider some examples for properties of the continuity. So here the first example, that let n and n dash be non-linear spaces and T be a linear transformation of n into n dash. Then T is continuous either at each point of n or at no point of n. So if T is continuous at one point, then T is continuous at all points, and if T is not continuous at any point, then this is not continuous at every other point. So for proof solution, suppose here we are considering 2 points x1 and x2 be any 2 points of n, and let T be continuous at x1. So that by the definition of continuity, there for each epsilon greater than 0, we can find there exists delta greater than 0 such that norm of the x minus x1 less than delta implies norm of the tx minus tx1 is less than epsilon. This is by the continuity of the linear transformation T. So now we check for the x2. No norm of the x minus x2, we start with this norm of the x minus x2 is less than delta. This implies here we add and subtract x for calculation part point x. This from this we obtain norm of the x plus x1 minus x2 minus norm x1 norm is less than delta. Then this from using the equation 1, we can say that t of the x plus x1 minus x2 minus t x1 is less than epsilon, and then applying the linearity property of the t, we open this as tx plus tx1 minus tx2 minus tx1 is less than epsilon. So after simplification, we obtained this as t norm of the tx minus tx2 is less than epsilon. For all such point x for which norm x minus x2 is less than delta, we obtain norm tx minus tx2 less than epsilon. Therefore, we can say that t is continuous at x2 also. And here these 2 points are arbitrary. So we can say that if it is continuous at one point, then it is continuous at all other. Next, we consider second example. This is little bit similar to the part of the theorem 1. Let n and n dash be norm linear spaces with the same scalars and let T be n to n dash be linear transformation. Then T is bounded if and only if T is continuous. So the only if part, the let T be bounded so that there exists k greater than 0 such that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k into norm of x. And to show that we know we have to prove that T is continuous. So for this, let x be any arbitrary point of n, and for any epsilon greater than 0, we choose delta equal to epsilon upon k. Then for all y belonging to n with norm y minus x less than delta, we have norm of the ty minus tx is equal to norm of the ty minus x because t is a linear transformation. And then from the equation 1, we obtain this as less and equal to k norm y minus x. And as we have chosen this norm y minus x less than delta and delta equal to epsilon by k. Therefore, after solving this, we obtain this as less than epsilon. So in this way, we obtain that if norm of the y minus x less than delta, then norm of the ty minus tx less than epsilon. Therefore, t is continuous at x. And as this is arbitrary point, therefore t is continuous. So for the converse part, let T be continuous and if possible, T is not bounded. That is, there exists no k dash greater than 0 such that norm of the Tx is less and equal to k dash norm x. Then for each positive integer n, we can find xn, at least one point xn belonging to n such that norm of the Txn greater and equal to n norm xn. So then we transfer this right hand side quantity to the left hand side and we obtain this as 1 by n upon norm x 1, 1 upon n norm xn into norm of the txn greater than 1. Then and now employing the property of the norm, we obtain from this norm of the txn upon n norm xn is greater than 1. So now we suppose here set choose yn equal to xn upon n norm xn. Then norm of the yn equal to norm of the xn upon n norm xn, that is 1 by n, and this tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. And so we obtained here that yn tending to 0 as n tends to infinity, but tyn does not tend to 0 since tyn greater than 1. So in this way, we obtain that T is not continuous at the origin, and which is a contradiction. Therefore, our assumption that T is not bounded is false, and therefore T must be bounded. Next, we consider the example 3. The example 3 is let n and n dash be norm linear spaces and let T be a linear transformation from n to n dash. then the kernel of T is the kernel T such that by here we define kernel T as x belongs to n such that Tx equal to 0. Then we have to prove that then kernel T is a subspace of an linear manifold and kernel T is closed if T is continuous. So here first we prove that this kernel T is a subspace for linear manifold, and for this we choose 2 points x and y belonging to kernel T, then Tx equal to 0 equal to Ty by the property of the kernel, and for any scalars AB we have Tax plus By equal to Atx plus Bty by the linearity of the T, and then we put the value of Tx and Ty is obtained A0 plus B0. So after calculation this is become 0. So in this way if xy belongs to kernel T, then we obtained here that Ax plus By belongs to kernel T. Therefore kernel T is a subspace of an or linear manifold of. Next we prove that this is a closed set. So is kernel T equal to T inverse 0 a closed set, because since each singleton set 0 in a matrix space is closed, and the inverse image of closed set under a continuous mapping. So the here we define we can obtain this kernel T as T inverse 0 because this set is the all the this set contains all the elements which are three images of 0, and as every singleton set is closed, and if T is continuous then T inverse 0 its T image inverse image of a closed set under a continuous map is. So in this way we obtain that this kernel T set is a closed set, linear and closed set. So in today's lecture, we have defined continuity, boundedness, and related to them, we have considered the equivalent conditions for continuity, boundedness, and continuity at one point, then continuous at the other point also. So this is the today's topic. For more detail, you can go to any reference book of the functional analysis. Thank you. I am Dr. R.P. Somani, Associate Professor in Maths. Thank you.